welcome to another Take 5. Today's Take 5 is going to be extremely late as I'm doing our Take 5 from a movie theater. The seats in this theater are amazing. They're leather, they're electric reclining, and they're even heated. I got to thinking, wouldn't it be great if we had these kind of seats in our church? But here's the deal. The theater is here to entertain us. The church is for worship. And sadly, sometimes people get the two of those actually confused. They come to church expecting to be entertained. Will the music be the kind of music that I like? Will I be served? Will the preacher have some witty illustrations and some memorable one-liners? Will I leave church feeling like I've been entertained? And yet, when we read in Scripture, some of the greatest moments of worship do not take place in a church service, and they have nothing to do with entertainment. We can go all the way back to the very first time that the word worship appears in the Bible, and it's in Genesis chapter 22, when God finally gives Abraham a son, Isaac. And one of the first things that he tells him to do is to take Isaac up on the mountain and sacrifice him. And there in that 22nd chapter, as Abraham and Isaac make the journey to the mountain, they reach a spot and Abraham tells his servants, "You stay here while I and the boy go over there to worship." And we see as they go to worship, it's not in a church building. It has nothing to do with entertainment. It is more about obedience to an awesome God and the willingness to sacrifice out of faith in Him. And then I think about a worship service that took place while Jesus was in a boat with the disciples. And a storm came up, a storm that was so great that the disciples feared for their very lives. And where was Jesus? He was asleep. And so they got Jesus and woke him and said, "Jesus, you've got to save us. Aren't you going to save us this storm?" And immediately Jesus said, "Peace, be still." And the storm and the sea both became calm. And the scripture says they worshiped Jesus. And so another element of worship for us is to worship Him as we see His power and His providence at work in our lives. And then another account of worship that we see, again in the New Testament. Paul and Silas have been arrested and they've been placed in prison. And the scripture in Acts tells us that about midnight, Paul and Silas were in their chains, in the cell, and what were they doing? They were singing and praising God. And that really changes how you and I approach worship when we come on a Sunday morning, to realize that there is even great reason to worship God when we feel like we're imprisoned. Maybe it's because of health difficulties. Maybe it's because of habits that are in our lives that we can't seem to break free from. Maybe it's problems in our relationships. And yet still, even in those moments, there are times and reason to worship. Had a great time tonight at the theater. Very entertaining. And now I look forward to the moments I'm going to experience in worship on Sunday. I'll see you then.